The transport ship slowed down as it reached Unity Station, pressed her face against the cold window and watched the massive space station grow bigger. Lights blinked everywhere. Ships came and went like busy insects. This was her new home now. She was 17 years old. Her parents were diplomats from Korea sent to work on this station where thousands of alien species lived together. Had to attend the Galactic Unity Academy, the most famous school in this part of space. She did not want to come here. She missed Earth. She missed her friends. She missed the smell of rain and the taste of her grandmother's cooking. But she had no choice. The academy was huge. The hallways stretched forever. Strange creatures walked past her every day. Some had scales, some had feathers, some floated instead of walked. Some had too many eyes, some had no eyes at all, kept her head down and tried not to stare. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. Most aliens thought humans were boring, weak, unremarkable, just soft little creatures from a small blue planet. There were only 4 humans in the whole academy, her friend and 2 boys named, and they sat together at lunch. They walked together between classes. They stayed quiet and tried not to cause trouble. But trouble found them anyway. It started on her 3rd week at the academy. Was walking to her morning class when she heard a sound that made her stop. It was a small sound, a whimper, like a hurt animal trying not to cry. She followed the sound to a corner near the eastern gate. There she saw them. 3 large reptilian students surrounded a small girl. The girl had lavender skin and beautiful wings that grew from her back. The wings were thin and delicate, like butterfly wings made of light. They shimmered with soft colors when the light touched them. One of the reptilian students grabbed the girl's wing and twisted it. The sound of breaking cartilage echoed in the empty hallway. Froze, her heart pounded in her chest. The small girl fell to her knees but did not scream. Her face twisted with pain, but she stayed silent, like she was used to this, like this happened every day. The largest reptilian laughed. His name was, and he was they were a warrior species. They had conquered many planets. Their bones were reinforced with metal compounds that grew naturally inside their bodies. Their scales were thick and hard. They were bred for fighting. "See you tomorrow, little bird," said. He kicked the girl once more and walked away with his friends. Wanted to help. She wanted to run to the girl and ask if she was okay, but her legs would not move. Fear held her in place. There were 3 times her size. What could she do? By the time she found her courage, the girl had already picked herself up and limped away. Learned her name later that day. Lyra. She was a species from a distant planet covered in floating islands and endless skis. They had evolved to fly. Their whole culture was built around the sky. Their wings were everything to them. And Lyra was the only in the entire station. Started watching after that. Every morning she would look for Lyra, and every morning she would see the same thing, and his friends would find Lyra before classes started. They would corner her. They would break her wings, and then they would leave her on the ground like garbage. No one helped. Teachers walked past and pretended not to see. Other students looked away. The security guards stood at their posts and did nothing. Asked about it one night in their shared room. "They are pacifists," explained. She was reading something on her data pad and did not look up. "They cannot fight. Their bodies do not produce adrenaline. They do not have a fight response. Only flight. But you cannot fly when someone is holding your wings. So everyone just lets it happen. They are warrior class. Their families are powerful, and Lyra does not file complaints. It is not the way. They believe in peace, in acceptance, in enduring suffering without fighting back." Lay in her bed and stared at the ceiling. She thought about Lyra's face, the way she did not scream anymore. The way she picked herself up every single time like this was just part of her life now. 47 times. That was the number found when she accessed the medical records. Lyra had been treated for wing injuries 47 times since the semester started. The doctors healed her. Then she went back to class. Then the broke her wings again, over and over and over. And her wings took 3 solar cycles to fully heal, which meant they never really healed at all. Something heavy settled in his chest. It was not sadness. It was not fear. It was something older, something that came from deep inside her, from a place she did not know existed. Her hands curled into fists. On Earth, her grandmother used to tell her stories. Stories about their ancestors, about farmers who became soldiers, about women who picked up swords when invaders came, about ordinary people who faced impossible enemies and refused to kneel. "We are not special," her grandmother would say. "We are not the strongest or the fastest, but we are stubborn. We do not give up. We do not abandon our own. That is what makes us human." Closed her eyes and made a decision. Tomorrow, things would be different. Tomorrow, she would stop watching. Tomorrow, she would do something. She did not know what yet. She did not have a plan. She only knew that she could not stand by anymore. She could not watch Lyra's wings break one more time while everyone looked away. Someone had to stand up. Someone had to fight. And if no one else would do it, then would. Even if it killed her. Woke up before the sun simulation started. The station was quiet. Most students were still sleeping. She put on her training clothes and went to the empty gymnasium. She had never been a fighter. Back on Earth, she took dance classes. She learned a little bit of taekwondo when she was young, but she quit after 2 years. She was not strong. She was not fast. She was just a normal girl. But normal would have to be enough. She started running, around and around the gymnasium until her legs burned and her lungs screamed for air. Then she did push-ups until her arms gave out. Then sit-ups until her stomach muscles cramped. Then she ran again. Every morning for 3 weeks, she trained alone in the dark gymnasium. Noticed the changes, was eating more, sleeping less. Her eyes had a strange light in them that was not there before. "You are going to do something stupid," said one evening. "I can see it on your face." "Maybe." "The will kill you. Their bones are made of metal. Their claws can cut through steel. You cannot fight them." "I am not planning to fight fair." Put down her data pad and looked at with worried eyes. "What are you planning?" Did not answer. Instead, she showed what she had been reading: medical files, biology reports, combat analysis from 100 different species. "I have been studying," said. "They are strong, yes, but they have weaknesses. Their eyes are soft tissue. Their throat is not armored. The joints between their scales are vulnerable. They are built for quick victories against enemies who run away. They are not built for long fights." "And humans?" Pulled up another file. It was a galactic study on human biology. The report was written by alien scientists who had studied humans after first contact. She read parts of it out loud. "Humans display unusual pain tolerance compared to most galactic species. They can continue functioning with injuries that would disable other creatures. Their bodies produce chemicals called adrenaline and endorphins that allow them to ignore pain during high-stress situations." She scrolled down. "Humans have extreme endurance capacity. While many species are faster in short bursts, humans can maintain physical activity for hours. This is called persistence hunting. Ancient humans would chase prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion." She scrolled down more. "Humans possess a psychological trait called protective aggression. When defending others, especially those they perceive as family or vulnerable, humans can override their self-preservation instincts. This makes them dangerous and unpredictable in combat situations." His eyes went wide. "So you are saying?" "I am saying that we are not as weak as everyone thinks. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Ice ages, predators, diseases, natural disasters, and we survived all of it. Not because we were the strongest, because we refused to die." closed the file and looked at her friend. They think they are predators, but they have never met something like us. They have never fought something that gets angry instead of scared, something that keeps coming no matter how much you hurt it, something that would rather die than give up. Was quiet for a long time, then she shook her head. You are crazy. Probably. You might die. Probably. And you are still going to do it. Thought about Lyra, about her broken wings and her silent suffering, about 47 medical visits and a girl who had stopped screaming because no one ever came to help. Yes, she said, I am still going to do it. The next day changed her approach. She stopped just training her body. She started training her mind. She watched videos of fighting. She studied how they moved, how they attacked, where they left openings. They were aggressive and direct. They expected enemies to block or dodge. They did not expect enemies to attack their weak points. She practiced in front of a mirror. She imagined his face. She imagined his claws coming at her. She practiced ducking, rolling, getting inside his guard where his long arms could not reach. She also studied Lyra. The girl always took the same path to class. She always arrived at the same time. She always walked alone. They always attacked her in the same spot, near the eastern gate where security cameras had a blind spot. Made a plan. It was not a good plan. It was simple and dangerous and would probably get her killed, but it was the only plan she had. On the night before she was going to act, could not sleep. She lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. Fear crawled through her body like cold water. Her hands were shaking. She thought about her parents. They would be so angry, so scared. They had brought her here to be safe, to get a good education, to build a future among the stars. They did not bring her here to pick fights with alien warriors. But then she thought about her grandmother again, about the stories of their ancestors, about all the impossible things ordinary people had done when they had no other choice. Courage is not the absence of fear, her grandmother used to say. Courage is being afraid and doing it anyway. Closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Tomorrow she would find out if she had courage. Tomorrow she would find out what humans were really made of. Tomorrow everything would change. She finally fell asleep just before dawn, and in her dreams she saw Lyra flying free, her wings whole and beautiful, soaring through an endless sky where no one could hurt her ever again. That was the future was fighting for. That was worth the risk. That was worth everything. The morning was cold. The station's climate control kept everything at a comfortable temperature but felt cold anyway. Her hands were ice. Her stomach was a tight knot of fear. Her heart beat so fast she could hear it in her ears. She stood near the eastern gate and waited. The courtyard was mostly empty at this hour. A few early students walked past, lost in their own thoughts. None of them noticed the small human girl standing in the shadows. Then she saw Lyra. The girl walked slowly toward the gate. Her wings were folded against her back. They had healed a little since yesterday, but could still see the crooked places where the cartilage had not set properly. Lyra walked with her head down, like someone walking to their own execution. His throat tightened. Then she saw came from the left. His two friends came from the right. They moved like hunters surrounding prey. Their scales gleamed under the artificial lights. Their claws clicked against the metal floor. Smiled. It was an ugly smile full of sharp teeth. "Good morning, little bird," he said. "Ready for our daily game?" Lyra stopped walking. Her shoulders slumped. She did not run. She did not scream. She just stood there, waiting for the pain she knew was coming. That was when stepped out of the shadows. She walked between Lyra and her legs felt like jelly. Her whole body was screaming at her to run away, but she planted her feet and did not move. Stopped. His friends stopped too. They looked at her like she was a bug that had crawled onto their dinner plate. "What is this?" asked. His voice was deep and rumbling like distant thunder. Leave her alone. The words came out smaller than wanted, but they came out. Laughed. It was not a nice laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had never lost a fight in his entire life. Move, soft skin. This does not concern you. It does now. The courtyard had gone quiet. Other students had stopped to watch, could feel their eyes on her. She could hear their whispers. Is that a human? What is she doing? She is going to die. Took a step forward. He was huge. His shadow covered completely. Up close she could see every scale on his body, every scar from old battles, every muscle under his thick hide. Do you know what I am? He asked. His breath smelled like copper and meat. My people have conquered 17 star systems. We have broken species twice your size. We have killed things that would make you scream just by looking at them. He leaned down until his face was inches from hers. What are you going to do, little human? His heart was pounding so hard she thought it might explode. Her hands were shaking. Her vision was getting blurry at the edges. But behind her she heard Lyra's ragged breathing. She thought about 47 broken wings, about all the mornings no one came, about a girl who had given up on hope. And something inside snapped. Not broke, snapped, like a rubber band stretched too far and suddenly released. The fear did not go away, but something else rose up to meet it, something hot and fierce and ancient, something that had lived in human blood since the first cave dweller picked up a rock to defend their tribe. Rage. Swung first. His massive clawed hand came at her face like a wrecking ball, but was already moving. She ducked under his arm, rolled to the side, came up inside his guard where his long reach could not help him. And she punched him in the eye. It was not a perfect punch. Her form was terrible, but she put everything she had into it, all her fear, all her anger, all 3 weeks of training, all the pain she had watched Lyra endure. Her fist connected with the soft tissue of his left eye socket. Roared, the sound was enormous, filling the whole courtyard. He stumbled backward, claws covering his face. His friends charged at her. Did not think, she just moved. The first one came from her right. She drove her elbow into his snout. Cartilage crunched. Blood sprayed. He screamed and fell. The second one grabbed for her neck. She twisted, caught his arm, and used his own momentum to pull him off balance. Then she drove her knee into his throat. He made a horrible choking sound and collapsed. Was getting up. His left eye was swollen shut. Blood ran down his face. But he was smiling, a terrible, hungry smile. Good, he said. Very good. I was hoping you would fight back. He charged. This time was not fast enough. His fist caught her in the ribs. She felt something crack. Pain exploded through her body like fire. She flew backward and hit the ground hard. For a moment she could not breathe. The world spun around her. She saw spots of light dancing in her vision. Get up. The voice in her head was not her own. It was older, deeper, the voice of every ancestor who had ever faced death and refused to kneel. Get up. Pushed herself to her feet. Blood dripped from her mouth. Her ribs screamed with every breath, but she raised her fists and faced again. The stopped smiling. Something flickered in his one good eye, something he had never felt before, something cold and uncertain. Fear. What are you? He whispered. Spat blood on the ground between them. I am human, she said, and I do not know how to quit. She charged. When the security guards finally arrived, 3 warriors lay groaning on the ground. His face was a bloody mess. His friends were not moving. Stood over them, swaying on her feet. Her knuckles were split open. Her ribs were broken. Blood covered her face. But she was still standing. The crowd stared in silence. And for the first time in months, Lyra lifted her head and Met's eyes. She was crying, but she was also smiling. The council chamber was enormous. 12 curved tables formed a circle in the center of the room. Representatives from 12 different species sat behind those tables. Their eyes were all fixed on. She sat alone in the middle of the circle. Her ribs were wrapped in bandages. Her hands were covered in healing gel. The doctors had wanted to keep her in the medical bay, but the council had demanded her presence immediately. Her parents stood behind her. Her mother's face was pale with fear. Her father's jaw was tight but could not read his expression. The arbiter spoke first. He was a tall creature with blue skin and tentacles instead of arms. His voice echoed through the chamber like water flowing over stones. This is unprecedented. A human student attacking 3 without provocation. We must decide what punishment is appropriate. Without provocation. His voice cut through the chamber. Everyone fell silent. Lyra has been assaulted 47 times this semester. I have the medical records. I have the dates and times. I have evidence of every single attack. She looked around the circle, meeting the eyes of each representative. Where was this council then? No one answered. Teachers walked past and did nothing. Security guards stood at their posts and pretended not to see. This council never called a meeting. No one ever asked why a young girl was in the medical bay almost every single day. The arbiter shifted uncomfortably. They are pacifists. They do not file complaints. It is their way. So because she could not fight back, no one bothered to fight for her, shook her head. That is not peace. That is cowardice. Whispers rippled through the council. Several representatives looked away. Others exchanged uneasy glances. The ambassador rose to his feet. He was massive, even bigger than. His scales were dark as midnight, and old scars covered his face. His name was, and he was older brother. My brother and his companions were attacked by this human, he said. His voice was cold and hard as iron. Under law, we have the right to demand satisfaction, trial by combat. The chamber exploded with noise. Representatives shouted over each other. Some demanded order, others demanded justice. But just looked at, she saw the anger in his eyes, the wounded pride, the hunger for revenge. Trial by combat, she repeated. Against who? Smiled, it was not a nice smile. Against me. The noise stopped, everyone stared. Was not like his younger brother. He was a veteran of 12 campaigns. He had killed warriors from a dozen different species. He was considered one of the deadliest fighters in the military. This is madness, the arbiter said. The human girl will die. We cannot allow this. It is our right, growled. It is ancient law. If she refuses, she admits defeat. She admits that humans are cowards. She admits that what she did was wrong. Felt cold spread through her body. Trial by combat against was not a fight. It was an execution. She looked back at her parents. Her mother was crying. Silent tears ran down her cheeks. Her eyes begged to refuse, to apologize, to do anything except accept this death sentence. But her father was not crying. He stepped forward. His voice was calm and clear. Humanity accepts the trial by combat. The chamber went completely silent. Father started. Our daughter will face whatever champion they choose, her father continued. We accept the terms. Smile widened. Then it is decided. 3 days from now in the combat arena, the whole station will watch your daughter die. He turned and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed like thunder. Smother grabbed her father's arm. What have you done? You have killed our daughter. But just looked at. His eyes were filled with something she had never seen before. Pride and something else, something deeper. Do you know why I agreed? He asked quietly. Shook her head. Because I saw the medical records too. Because I saw what they did to that girl. Because when the galaxy looks at humans, they see soft little creatures from a small blue planet. They see prey. He knelt down so his eyes were level with hers. 3 weeks ago, you decided to fight for a girl you did not even know. You trained in secret. You studied your enemies. And when the moment came, you stood between a monster and his victim, even though you knew you might die. He put his hand on her shoulder. That is what humans are. That is what we have always been. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the ones who stand up when everyone else looks away. The ones who fight when fighting is impossible. The ones who would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. His eyes filled with tears. I cannot beat, she whispered. He is too strong, too fast, too experienced. Her father smiled. It was a sad smile, but also a proud one. Maybe, but you taught me something today, daughter. You taught me that winning is not the same as refusing to lose, and humans have never known how to lose. He stood up and faced the council. In 3 days, the galaxy will learn what humanity is made of. Win or lose, they will never forget. Looked around the chamber, at the representatives who had ignored Lyra's suffering, at the system that had failed her, at the world that valued peace over justice. Then she looked at Lyra, who sat in the gallery with tears streaming down her face. She thought about her grandmother's stories, about ancestors who faced impossible odds, about ordinary people who became heroes because no one else would. She was terrified, but she was also ready. 3 days. 3 days to prepare for the fight of her life. 3 days to show the galaxy what a human could do. The combat arena had not been used in decades. Dust covered the old seats. The sand on the floor was pale and cold. But on the day of the fight, every seat was filled. Thousands of species had come to watch. They packed the stands until there was no room left. They hung from the railings and crowded the doorways. Word had spread across the entire station. A human girl was going to fight a champion. Everyone wanted to see the human die. Stood in the preparation room beneath the arena, she could hear the crowd above her. The sound was like thunder that never stopped. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was racing. The bandages around her ribs had been removed. The doctors said she was healed enough to fight. Healed enough to die, she thought. The door opened. Her parents came in. Behind them came, and the only other humans on the entire station. Her mother hugged her so tight it hurt. You do not have to do this, she whispered. We can leave. We can go back to Earth. We can forget all of this. Hugged her back. She breathed in the familiar smell of her mother's perfume. She memorized the feeling of her arms. I cannot run, she said. If I run, Lyra will never be safe. If I run, they will think humans are cowards forever. If I run, everything I fought for means nothing. She pulled back and looked at her mother's face. I have to do this. For Lyra, for us, for everyone who ever looked away when someone needed help. Her mother's tears fell faster, but she nodded. Her father stepped forward. He pressed something into her hand. It was a small stone, worn smooth by time. Recognized it immediately. It was from their home in Korea, from the river near her grandmother's house. Your grandmother gave me this before she died, he said. She told me it was a piece of home, a piece of our ancestors. She said as long as I carried it, I would never be alone. Closed her fingers around the stone. It was warm from her father's hand. Come back to us, he said. His voice cracked, please. She nodded. She could not speak. Stepped forward next. Her eyes were red from crying, but her face was determined. I brought something too, she said. She pulled out her data pad and pressed a button. Music filled the room. It was an old song, a Korean song from hundreds of years ago, a battle hymn that soldiers sang when they marched to war. The melody was simple, but it carried the weight of centuries, of farmers who became fighters, of ordinary people who faced impossible enemies. And joined in. Their voices were not perfect, but they were strong. Then her parents joined, then closed her eyes and let the music wash over her. She was not alone. She had never been alone. The arena doors opened. Light flooded in. The roar of the crowd swallowed everything. walked out onto the sand. Was already there. He stood in the center of the arena like a mountain made of muscle and scales. He was even bigger than she remembered, 8 feet tall, arms as thick as tree trunks, claws that gleamed like knives. He looked at her and laughed. "This is what humanity sends," he called out. The crowd laughed with him. "A child, a soft little thing that bleeds and breaks." Walked toward him. Each step felt heavier than the last, but she kept walking. The arbiter announced the rules. No weapons, no outside help. The fight would continue until one fighter could not continue. Simple rules for a simple death. Rolled his massive shoulders. His scales clicked together like armor settling into place. Any last words, human? Looked at him. She thought about Lyra, about broken wings and silent suffering, about a galaxy that valued strength over justice. "Your brother hurt my friend," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I am going to hurt you worse." Stopped laughing. The arbiter signaled the start of the fight. Charged, he was impossibly fast for something so large. His claws reached for her throat. Dove to the side. The claws missed her by inches. She rolled across the sand and came up running. She could not match his strength. She could not match his speed. She could not match his reach. But she could outlast him. The fight became a dance. Attacked, dodged, he swung, she moved, he grabbed, she slipped away. Minutes passed, then more minutes. Was getting frustrated. His attacks became wilder, less controlled. He was not used to enemies who refused to fight back, who refused to stand still and die. Finally, he caught her. His fist connected with her arm, bones snapped, pain exploded through her body. She hit the sand and tasted blood. The crowd cheered. Walked toward her, slowly, savoring the moment. "Stay down," he said. "Accept your death with dignity." Pushed herself up with her one good arm. Her broken arm hung useless at her side. Blood dripped from her nose. Her vision was blurry. But she stood. Smile faded. He hit her again, cracked her ribs, she fell, she got up. He hit her again, split her forehead open. Blood covered her face, she fell, she got up. He hit her again, and again, and again. Each time she got up. The crowd went silent. Something was changing, something in the air, something in the way they looked at the small human girl who refused to stay down. Was breathing hard now. His scales were slick with sweat. His movements were slower. Humans could not fight like, but could not endure like humans. Smiled through bloody teeth. "Is that all you have?" Roared and charged one final time. But he was tired now, slow, predictable. Caught his arm, used his own momentum against him. And she wrapped her legs around his throat. Her broken arm screamed in agony. Her ribs ground together. Every part of her body was on fire. But she did not let go. Thrashed, he clawed at her. He slammed her against the ground, but she held on. Seconds passed, then more seconds. And finally went limp. The arena was completely silent. Released him and collapsed on the sand. She could barely see, could barely breathe. Her whole body was broken. But she was alive. And she had won. The silence stretched on forever. Then, from somewhere in the stands, a voice started singing. The same Korean battle hymn from before. Then her parents. And then slowly, other voices joined in. Alien voices, species that did not know the words but felt the meaning. A song of defiance, of courage, of refusing to give up even when everything seemed lost. Lifted her head. Lyra was running across the sand toward her. Her wings were still crooked, still broken, but she was running. She fell to her knees beside and took her hand. "Why?" Lyra asked. Tears streamed down her lavender face. "Why did you do this for me?" Looked at her, at this girl she barely knew, this stranger she had almost died for. "Because you needed someone," she said, "and I was there." Lyra hugged her, gently, carefully, mindful of all her injuries. "Thank you," she whispered, "thank you." In the days that followed, everything changed. The footage of the fight spread across the galaxy. A human girl defeating a champion through sheer refusal to quit, through stubborn, impossible endurance. 17 pacifist species requested human protection for their colonies. The ambassador formally apologized for his brother's actions. The academy instituted new rules protecting vulnerable students. And every morning after that, walked Lyra to class. The students watched from a distance. They did not attack anymore. They did not threaten or intimidate. They just watched. Because the galaxy had finally learned what Earth's predators had known for millions of years. Humans were not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the deadliest. But they were the species that looked at impossible odds, at certain death, at gods and monsters and the endless dark of space itself. And said, "No, I will not give up." That was what it meant to be human. And that was something worth fighting for.